Good morning and welcome to Coach Ken, Wellness Preacher in the AM. Hope you're having an awesome morning this morning as the day gets underway on Tuesday. We are in the month of March. Hey, welcome in, guys. I hope you're having an awesome one. It's been a great morning of learning. If you were on here earlier, hopefully you got to learn a little bit. I know we had a little flub there with Dr. Stephen Brown talking about insulin resistance and chronic pain. One of those things that comes up when we deal with insulin resistance is chronic pain, and he helps to kind of unpack that. So, hey guys, I'm Coach Ken up in Anchorage, Alaska. Welcome in this morning. I hope you're having an awesome day today. You're getting things started. Always a great day. Always a great day to be on the in the vertical position, as I like to say. You're up and down. Even if you're still in the horizontal position and you're in bed, at least you're not underground, and that's the most important thing. If you're watching this, then that's where you're at. And so, really glad that you're here today. As we get started, I got a new graphic just for fun. Let me put this one up here because it's something I talk about all the time. So if you haven't seen what I talk about, these are the 5 most important questions that you need to be asking, and it guides everything about this channel. How are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your extras? Who are you encouraging? And how are you elevating? And the best question ever, what is the wise thing to do? That should be the question that overarches every single thing that we decide to do. And that has to do with eating, exercising, the extras. Who are you encouraging, as well as how are you elevating? So welcome in. Let me know where you're coming in from. I know I saw in my earlier live some of my friends that are on here on a regular basis. It was good to see them, but I hope they're coming back, because I told them once I got off that live, I'd be back over here and getting things underway today. So I hope you're having an awesome morning as we get things going today. Let me know how you're doing today and what's going on. I am going to be here for the next hour trying to help folks, talking a little bit about life, guiding folks through as we've got things coming on. We got somebody that sent me a message. How about this? All right, that one has... good morning. Let me know where you're coming in from. I am Coach Ken, Pastor Ken, the Wellness Preacher in the AM. Coach Ken in the AM, and welcome in. Let me know where you're coming in from. I am up in Anchorage, Alaska. And here's a freebie. I'm going to throw you one out there. This is something that you probably did not know. When you increase, we're talking about how we're eating, when you increase your soluble fiber intake by 10 grams, how many of y'all are dealing with migraines? If you increase your soluble intake by 10 grams, you're going to lower your chances of migraines by 11%. Hey, from Boston, just me. Good to see you this morning. Welcome in. So you're on the other side of the country, 4 hours ahead of me. You guys are 9:12. I'm 5:12 up here in Anchorage, Alaska. How's the weather over in Boston? How is the weather in Boston? I was just talking about Boston last night with my son. The first time I ever saw Doctor Who, this is just random right here, right? The first time I ever saw Doctor Who was when I was about 8 years old. Australia, Aussie guy, good to see you this morning. Cold and confusing. Confusing? What's confusing? No, but I was like 8 years old. My dad was at a conference in Boston, and Doctor Who was on, and I remember that was the weirdest thing. I was sometimes wondering if it was a fever dream. Hey, Sunny Bunny Funny, good to see you this morning. Glad that you're here. Tell me where you're coming in from. What's confusing in Boston? I get that it's cold. What's your temperature, just out of curiosity? We are 0 when I checked this morning. Man, we've got a nasty little cold snap here. Ferrandi is begun. I got you. Yeah, we've had sunny days too, and it's been nasty. The Iditarod is getting ready to run. Ferrandi started. So we're going to I'm going to go live probably when we do the start of the Iditarod up here. And if y'all aren't familiar with that, for the Iditarod is the big race from Anchorage to Nome, Alaska. It's going to rain here. Sunny Bunny Funny, where are you? like 30 degrees, dry, cold is the, yeah, I get it. Gotta wear a beanie, right? Exactly. One of the things, if you don't have, I don't know, I have buffs all the time in this weather because they're great. I'll put mine, this was one that I got freebie. So you get it around your neck, but it's always great. Throw it up right there. I look like a little old woman, right? But those are a huge help. Yeah, we've got a couple of days before we're going to get our snow. The crazy thing that I've learned about living in Alaska, it can really get too cold to snow. I know that sounds bizarre, but because of the way the temperatures are here on the coast, it totally throws things off when it comes to that. I'm in Ashland. Are you in Ashland, Kentucky? My late wife was from Pikeville is the reason I asked. I know where Ashland, Kentucky is. I don't know if there's different Ashlands, I'm pretty sure, around the country, but trying to figure out where everything... no, okay. All right, totally fine. I won't ask anymore. Can the cold get depressing? It can get frustrating. I find the thing about Alaska, and I don't know if you guys have it down there, lack of vitamin D. It's not the cold, it's the dark. That's where it becomes the issue. So when I talk about extras, I talk about vitamin D, because we are lacking in sunlight. So now, granted, right now we're getting more and more sunlight, so it starts to change. So at the winter solstice, we only get like 4 to 5 hours of sunlight, and then most of the day is dark. But then in the summer, we'll get 20 to 21 hours of daylight, and we don't have much dark at all. Oh man, you gotta go. Okay, absolutely. Make sure you subscribe. I'll be back. So awesome. Yeah, don't want the boss catching you. That's never a good thing, right? It's nice to kind of be your own boss, though. I know that's not everybody's option. So yeah, we were talking a little bit about extras, about the vitamins. So that's an important part. One of the things too is fiber, and that's a huge help with your gut microbiome. So when I talk about eating, what do I like to watch? Well, I like to watch a lot of what my wife and I watch. We have to go back and watch Tracker. We like to watch a lot of things. We have a set of shows. Survivor's a big one in our house. Tracker, which really good show if you've never seen that one. Reacher, we got started on that. We like a lot of action, but we also like other things. We just finished watching Bridgerton, and if you think it's like, oh, Bridgerton is a great show, I'm like going, I'm kind of surprised that I would like it, but it actually has been pretty good. I've pretty much watched every season of it, so I'm pretty much all over when it comes to that. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I used to go by, and you'll find me as Jedi Pastor Ken. I've been doing that for a long time. What about you, Sunny Bunny Funny? What is it that you like? When we talk about things that you like to watch. Oh, you're liking the same kind of stuff? Cool. I like anything action adventure along the lines. I'm a huge action adventure kind of person. Those are, I guess, my favorite ones. And I'm not a big horror person. Never been a big horror person, although I did really like Silence of the Lambs. I liked Silence of the Lambs, and I liked Blair Witch Project. Those were two. I know it's really weird, but I'm not a huge. That's not a big one for me. I know it is for some other folks, but not big for me. So as y'all are coming in, so this is what we talk about here. Welcome in. This is to be a place. I don't tolerate a lot of nonsense in here. If there's plenty of channels if you want to tear people down, and to be that way. But here, this is a channel to help people educate about life and wholeness. I talk to the hand. How are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your extras? Who are you encouraging? And how are you elevating? And that's a big part of it. And if you'll focus on, particularly for your overall physical health, how you're eating and how you're exercising, you're going to start by being okay right there. And that's going to be the foundation for health and life. Something that most of us don't get much of an education on. As important as it is, we treat all food the same thing. Aussie guy, I'm a Christian. I'm a Christian ordained clergy in the United Methodist Church. But I am open to people of all faiths to be a part of our life. When I'm on here, we have some great conversations, looking for where is the middle ground. I talk about a lot about that whole idea of elevating as how are we seeking the divine, and to encourage people on that journey to find that place where we can have conversation. A big part of my life is fasting and prayer. And that helps people. If you know SpongeBob, that's my favorite show. That's a lot of people's favorite shows. That is a lot of people's favorite shows. I can't say it's mine. I've watched it a few times, and I like it. It's fun. I can't say it's my favorite one by any stretch. I don't know that I have much of a favorite show anymore. Trying to think if there's something it's tough being a Christian in Australia these days. Tell me more, Aussie guy. Tell me more. What is I think it's it doesn't level. I don't know. I think it's always been that, regardless. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, Bruce is on the loose. They're removing God from the workplaces and schools. Bruce is on the loose. Yeah, it's not to the level of persecution. We still, people can worship how they want to. I think, I think a lot of faiths can do that. I think, we've grown accustomed to certain aspects of it because people say they're Christian just because they are part of a country. And, in large part, I think that plays a lot of it. And there has been a lot of Christians that have made assumptions that everybody is like them. I say the same thing. We kind of assume, and we can't do that. The world is so much bigger, and I've lived in some big cities. Living in Anchorage, Alaska is pretty awesome. This has been really this melting pot of cultures because it is so easy to get to the east. No, we haven't. Jonathan, hey, yes, Jonathan, thank you. I asked UMC or GMC. I'm ordained clergy in the UMC. But I have a lot of friends that are GMC. A lot of my friends that were part of that split, I felt like I was to stay in the UMC. So, but thank you for asking. I have that was a part of a lot of those conversations. Now I wasn't like high up or anything, but Man, that's a big question. If you want to know more, let's keep talking. But I actually was one of my closest friends in ministry in Methodist circles is GMC. And so we were just talking yesterday, and the matter is who we are, and what we're doing. And I've got some things kind of going on there, but I'm happy to have that conversation. I think there's a lot of grieving going on for a lot of people in that, What is you? Oh, great question. That is a great question. Thank you, Bruce. I know we talk in those kind of circles in the church, don't we? So there's the United Methodist Church, and 2 years ago, well, it's been kind of going for a while, there was a split in the United Methodist Church, which is par for the course within churches. We seem to always be splitting. There's also now what's called the Global Methodist Church. And so the Global Methodist Church, I think the way that most people would look at this, and I hate to even go down this road, because it's far more complex than people realize. When a denomination as large as the UMC divides, it's not as simple as people think, because there's a lot of churches. People say it's liberal conservative. It's a little bit more nuanced than that. It's a simple way to break it down, but really there's a lot of things that haven't changed. Like with most things, it seems to do with power. And boy, I better be careful what I say. But not all churches that left the UMC became GMC. Not everybody agreed with that. And there were a lot of, I know a lot of more liberal clergy that left the UMC at the very same time. There just were some things that people got to a point that they were not happy with. And again, as part of it is kind of interpretation of how people look at things. I guess I'm just my reputation is this, and I'll share. When I came to Alaska, I asked my district superintendent, who's now a bishop, I said, what is my reputation? I've been in Idaho for 2 years, and when I moved to Alaska, they were real quick to find there was a church opening, and they said, we're excited about you being here because you bring Jesus language, you talk about Jesus in a way that we don't up here. And I was like, well, if that's the case, if what you're looking for is somebody to talk about Jesus, then I'm your guy, because that is my heart. And so that's my journey. So my hope is to elevate people on that faith journey, however it happens to be. So did that help, Bruce and Jonathan? Any more questions about? I shared a whole lot. Once you get me started, I don't shut up. Dr. G, my wife, will tell you, yeah, I can get going and it's hard to keep me quiet. So I can go for a while. And it's important. Like I said, for me, God has put me where God's put me. And that to me is an important thing. And this gives me a whole new place to come and talk. I feel like what I do is more in line with John Wesley. You may not know, when I come in here and I talk about nutrition, John Wesley's most popular book in his lifetime was a book called Primitive Physic, written in 1747, that was all about really and truly what I talk about, which are natural healings. I got you, Jonathan. Yeah. Hey, William, how are you? Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. No. Yeah, I tend to be, for me, I tend to be more conservative. I would say, when you look at it, and how I kind of approach things. I went to Asbury Theological Seminary, and so I've actually spoken. I've done revivals at Baptist churches when I lived in Georgia, and I have friends that are Reformed Baptist. One of my mentors in spiritual formation taught at Mercer, so that's a big part of what I do. So yeah, like I said, for me, it's there's so many people in this world, and I love to learn and I love to grow, and I love to challenge, and I love to be challenged. To me, those are all things really important. One of the things I talk about, talking about faith and encouraging people, is to be open and listening. How are you elevating? When I was in seminary, I took a class in Judaism and Islam, And one of the things that we went to a Orthodox prayer meeting on a Saturday night, which was all the men of the synagogue. Well, not all of them, but a significant number of the men and boys came to prayer. I had never been in a prayer meeting like that before. And those prayers, oh my word, absolutely incredible. I just was blown away by the spirit in that place, the emotion in that place, the prayers that were prayed that were impassioned, and just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. As you can tell, it left a lasting impression. That's been, 30 years ago, and totally changed everything. So coming back to it, so the hand, you guys see the hand. How are you? This is a thing this is overarching. Talk to the hand. And this is about our whole lives, right? So how are you eating? How are you exercising? What are your extras? Who are you encouraging? And how are you elevating? Those are key. So how are you eating? And why does this matter? So let's start with that. Why does it even matter? You just eat as you want to eat. But if you go into scriptures, across pretty much all religions, there's a big focus on what we eat and how we eat. And we have learned more about how we eat. It's why look at fasting as a practice for spiritual life. It has been for centuries a part of faith traditions, and now we know the benefits of the health benefits that come with fasting, which is why I teach it, not just because of the religion, but because of how it impacts our health overall. We know it now because science will back it up over and over again, and how we eat matters. And here's what we've learned, all right? We need to be eating real food. Now, I know when people come in here, I've had people go, oh, you're just mahat. Look, if you go back at my history, I was talking about this before anybody got elected to office. So don't even go there, right? I was dealing with arthritis when I was 9 years old. I was diagnosed with cancer in 2000, all right? I lost my wife to colon cancer, my first wife, in 2016. I've been dealing with heart disease. I've been dealing with migraines. I've been dealing with acid reflux. Oh, Lainey, I'm so sorry. Oh, my goodness. Drink your water, all right? Make sure you stay hydrated today. If you can get some electrolytes, get some of that in as well, all right? You need to get feeling better. I'm doing good. I really am, and I'm glad that you're here. So let's talk a little bit. So why is this important, all right? How we are eating, all right? So what we want to do, get some good, if you don't have chicken broth, get some chicken soup, all right? And get some good stuff in there. All right, we want to be eating real foods and get good hot stuff. Right, that's good. It's good to have. So how are we eating? We're eating for our overall health. All right, we're eating for our overall health. And we're learning to eat correctly. So what do I teach? All right, this is important. Right, meal sequencing, meal order. How do we eat in order to survive in this modern food environment? Let me put this up here real quick. Some of y'all have seen this before, you coming in. Our modern food environment looks a little bit like this over here. I'm going to put that up. I saw there was a comment come in. Just right. Yeah, well, let's talk about that, Bruce, because that will make an impact. Part of it is happening because your body is purifying. You got a lot there. So I'm gonna call you Bab. Welcome in. So our modern food environment, we eat all the time. We were taught to eat maybe. You guys tell me, how many meals a day were you taught to eat? Was it 3 or 6? Type in the comment 3 or 6. What were you taught to eat, right? Babu. Okay, thank you so very much. Welcome in, Babu. So we were taught, most of us here in the West were taught to eat 3 to 6 meals a day, but that's not how we used to eat. And in truth, 3 was snacks, Bruce, right? 3 was snacks. Many of us were taught 3. All right, some of us have been taught 6 small meals during the day. Kind of falls in line with those snacks. But what happens is every time we're eating, our blood sugar is going to increase and our insulin increase. Now, when insulin is high, guess what? Insulin is high, our fat storage is high. When insulin is low, the fat goes. All right, and we understand then that insulin is a anabolic hormone. It is a hormone that is a growth hormone, and when it stays high, we cannot burn fat. We cannot tap into our food storage units, and in fact, it increases inflammation. Yes, 3 meals is to eat when you're hungry. And part of that is I teach intermittent fasting, but also spiritually speaking. And so ideally, but this is the thing, Babu, many of us, we were taught that we need to eat more because it increases metabolism. And in fact, that is incorrect. If we listen to Dr. Jason Fung and many of the nutrition people that have been looking at the subject of insulin resistance, and what's happened to our bodies is because we've been eating all this time and it's been impacting us so much. Yep, there you go, Jonathan. That is a great way to eat. I have done that a lot. And it's understanding that fiber is the carbohydrate that we need to help control blood glucose levels. So like apple, we'll drink apple juice. We thought that was healthy. In fact, it's not, because pectin has been removed from our food. That pectin is a fiber. Everything that God made, all right, or Mother Nature made, however you want to look at it, in nature is packaged in fiber that's going to spike our blood glucose, right? So here's the thing. Same thing with rice. Same thing with people, and people will say this too. Thank you, Babu. Is that, well, the people in Asia, they eat rice all the time. They're not fat. It's not about the fat. That's the key. People are insulin resistant in China. Guess what? The rates of prediabetes and diabetes match the West. When you go to India, it's the same thing, because there's the visceral fat that's around our organs, not the jiggly kind, all right? That adipose fat tissue. What happens is that bran around that rice is the fiber that helps to control that. So what we want to do, wonton, thank you so much. Parmesan music, thank you. Welcome in. It's knowing that what's happened is we're doing it, and it's okay to rest our digestive system more often by fasting, like fasting a couple of days a week. Yes, absolutely. And I will talk about that. That's what we want to talk about. I'm talking right now really about that eating part. So when we eat, because how we break a fast, how we eat is as important as the not eating part, all right? So what we've learned is in modern nutritional science, we focus on fiber first, then proteins and fats, and we leave carbohydrates, breads, rice, pastas, corn, potatoes, to the end of the meal. And when we do that, guess what happens? That brings down the insulin because it brings down the blood sugar spike. We also eat until we're full. Sylvia, good to see you. Welcome in, welcome in. So we eat until we're full. Now I'm going to blow you away. This is kind of, my slides are a little bit out of order because this is something that's crazy. What we have found is all those things, the eating that way has led to so many of these problems right here. I'm going to expand this if I can just a little bit so you can see. All right, some of the root struggles that we're dealing with today because of that insulin resistance. Dracul, good to see you this morning. So when we have that high insulin levels, and it doesn't matter how old you are, all right, those are my younger ones. It's going great, my friend. It's going great. So those of them, people ask me about my kids. It's like, if you had a daughter, would you teach this? Yes, I would. As a matter of fact, and my daughter and I were talking on the phone this last week that she is eating this way, and not because I taught her, it's because she's learned what's been going on in her body, right? And so this is so critically important. 1 in 3 teenagers this last summer was determined. Hey, Canadian Cat, thank you guys for coming back on. 1 in 3 teenagers was diagnosed, are now pre-diabetic. Well, that matches adult numbers in the United States. Children as young as 6 have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That has everything to do with these crazy insulin levels, right? So what we want to do is we want to eat in the correct order. So that fiber, fats and proteins, and we put the carbs, we treat them like dessert, right? Because that's what we are. So this is so very important to address these issues, and it is this simple. All right, it is this simple. And I know that it's hard because we live in a very medicine centric kind of world now, right? That pharmaceuticals are what we have, a pill for every ill. As an ICU nurse, that is rampant, and we got to change, or it will be the next generation's demise. Absolutely. He-Man, welcome in. Well, Jonathan, it's awesome. I'm glad that you're here then. Because what I'm teaching is we actually have taught with nurses. I actually have a CE I did with my wife, Modern Nurse Fest up here in Anchorage, Alaska. We teach on metabolic health and the protocol that we do. So maybe we have some further conversation. So what we want to do is we want to change this. And for those of y'all who are wondering, how much do you eat? Well, your body's not a calculator. So there is a live tonight. If y'all are interested, there is a live webinar. If you'd like more information, make sure that you message me. Oh, that's okay, He-Man. Thank you so much for being here. I'm glad that you're here. That is on calories versus chemistry. So talking about this whole thing with a nutritionist. So it's going to be a great live. I'm really looking forward to tonight's live. So if you'd like to know more about that, let me know. You can message me over on my page. I can put my phone number up here, my contact info. I'll do that here in a minute. So before I don't want to get lost here. So what we want to do is fiber, fats, and proteins. So we want to think 30, 60, 90. So this is during the day. We want to get 30 grams of fiber, 60 grams of fat, and a minimum of 90 grams of protein. Now, I want to tell you something that's going to blow you away, and this is something as a nutrition coach that I have learned regularly, not just from the science, but what I lived. So this was me and Dr. G. See this picture. So when we were diagnosed with diabetes in 2024, that was me at 200 pounds, right? I'm not going to share my wife's weight. You don't do that. Guys, that's a hint. Men, do not share your partner's weight. You just don't do it. Don't do it. I listened to my wife and it saved my life, and I'm listening to it now too, right? So at 200 pounds, what I started doing was eating between 130 and 150 grams of protein. Don't be scared about protein. That's what's going to help you feel full, right? Exactly. That's right. That's what's going to help you feel full longer during the course of the day. Fiber slows digestion. It feeds the gut, the depression and anxiety. You're feeding the gut microbiome. So this is so very important. All right. So when we eat correctly, those of y'all who deal with anxiety and depression, realizing when we eat fiber, guess what? Fiber, just increasing fiber by 5 grams every 5 grams decreases your leaning into depression and anxiety, just like it does with migraines, just like it does with systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Okay, so very important. So that's how we want to eat. We want to eat till we're full. Now, I recommend eating, and we were talking about it. Who was saying before 18 and 6? 2 to 3 meals a day is what I recommend, or two to 1 meal a day. 3 if you're hungry. And as you're getting started on the practice of intermittent fasting, start by cutting out snacks. And then I recommend stop eating at 8 o'clock at night and don't eat again until 8 o'clock the next day. So if we will start there, that's as simple as you need to do to start getting there. So what do you call fiber? IRAP, great question. That is a great question. Let me come back to that. Don't let me forget, because I was just, well, I tell you what, let me go ahead and jump back up. Let me do it because I'm just starting fasting. So fiber, we're looking at fiber is primarily vegetables, all right? So I tell people to think about a Caesar salad, something that is a cruciferous vegetable, broccoli, cauliflower. We actually send out an eating list of good fibrous things to eat. That would be great. Berries are a great one to eat. People don't even want to hear that. It cracks me up. So that's what we do. We also do, when I say that I listen to my wife and it saved my life, I will share with you one of the things that we do one-on-one coaching is something called the Feel Great System, and this is balance. Balance is a fiber that is in the PDR.net, which is the provider's digital reference. This is a 7 blend of soluble and insoluble fibers. They're all plant fibers, like pectin that I mentioned earlier. When I started learning this is the fiber that I started with, and I learned then and became a nutrition coach because this saved my life. And learning that this had been studied at the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio, arguably the #1 heart hospital, at the University of Sydney. I've got Aussie in here talking about this. They're the home of the glycemic index, and this works like metformin. It's shown to work like statins. And the way I say this is, it's interesting that people will say, "Oh, so you're saying that the fiber works like statin?" When God created the world, what did he create first? Did God create statins or did he create plants? Did God create metformin or did God create plants? Were pharmaceuticals the first thing, or were there natural things that are here? So this is what when I talk about extras, this is what I'm talking about. So that, hopefully, IRAP, does that help? When I talk about fiber, that's what I'm talking about. So when you go to the steakhouse, rather than eat the bread first, which they give you for free, which disrupts your insulin in your metabolic system because it becomes sugar, we start with the salad. You're going to feel full longer. You're going to change the profile of the food because now you're going to get the fiber in. Okay? So let's go into intermittent fasting. So what does fasting look like? So for fasting, I recommend let's cut out the snacks. No snacky snack. My friend Dr. C said, all right, no snacky snack. If we could do that, that's huge. And if you will start to stop eating at 8 o'clock at night, don't eat again until 8 o'clock the next day, that's a 12-hour fast. Here's what we don't hear from our doctors. It takes about 4 hours for blood sugar to come back down. It takes about 10 to 12 hours for insulin levels to come down because they're a hormone. Guess what happens? As long as insulin is high, the fat on your body is high, or it will defy, is what I say. It's going to go anywhere. Insulin's the bodyguard. It's saying all of that goes in, all of those sugars go into those fat stores. We're going to keep them there. And as long as you're eating all day, you cannot lose the weight. It's not calories in, calories out. Okay? That is so very important. Not every calorie is the same. We want to look at nutrition. That's our primary focus. So we do the intermittent fasting. And so when we eat in that order, we still stay full longer. The longer you fast, here's some of the benefits. People will say, oh, you guys look younger. Part of it is because when you get past 12 hours of fasting, oh, thank you, Babu. I appreciate that. Thank you. I try to give the best content that I can, all backed by the science. And like I said, we've got, I go to class pretty much all the time to learn. So people will ask, well, you guys look like you have like aged in reverse. That's human growth hormone. That increases after 12 hours of not eating. When we get to 16 to 18 hours is when autophagy begins. And that was actually studied by a Nobel scientist, I believe it was 2010, that they determined that autophagy, guess what? It begins to clean the system. This whole piece of autophagy, it increases your stem cells. Without some type of surgery, without adding stem cells or anything, your body naturally does it when you get to 16 to 18 hours. Your body will begin, autophagy means the body's eating itself. So it's looking for the free radicals. It's looking for dying cells. It's looking for germs. And the body is going to take all of that and burn it up, use it for energy. So it's one of the reasons why you're going to find in fasting, as we were talking about earlier, when you do that extended fast, your body's brain fog begins to decrease because you're not eating all those carbohydrates. All right, that's not what you're depending on. Your body doesn't need carbohydrates. They are beneficial. They are not essential. Proteins and fats are essential. Proteins and fats are essential. Carbs are beneficial. So keep that in mind. All right, that's important to know. So there's where we talk about how we're eating. So then how are we exercising? All right, that's the other one that we talked about. I'll pull my little hand back over here. All right. How are you exercising? This doesn't take a lot. All right. We're not trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Now, if you are, that's a different trainer. I'm talking to everyday people. How many of y'all feel like, you know what? You're not trying to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You're everyday. Maybe you're a bit like me, right? I want to enjoy my life. I want to enjoy my marriage. I want to enjoy my kids. I want to enjoy my work. I want to enjoy things, right? If that's you, type me in the comment. Are you with me? Here's the thing. Every minute you walk lowers your blood glucose number by 1 point. You want to control blood glucose numbers, take a walk after you eat. 10 or 15 minutes, right, will allow your body to take that sugars and that your body is creating even, and force those into your muscles. Your muscles will burn that. Your muscles are the biggest sponge. We were talking about SpongeBob. That's the biggest sponge, right, that you need. So just taking a walk. Now, as you get older, and certainly always, resistance is a great thing to do. You could do, squats. You can do sit-ups. You can do push-ups. You can do wall push-ups. There's a lot of them. I have some videos on this over here on my channel with some great metabolic exercises to help. All right, that's it. It doesn't take much. Exercise is one of the most important things you can do. Now, when it comes to extras, we talked a little bit about that. Some of those extras that we do are asking about fiber. I always tell people about magnesium is missing from a lot because it's missing from our soil. Vitamin D3 is also one. K2 goes along with that. Now, Dr. G and I also, when we coach, we do something called the Feel Great system. All right? I don't make any bones about that. We use this Feel Great system. And why? Because this is the fiber and a multivitamin. This is B vitamin complex in here, which helps with neuropathy. Along with it being fiber, this makes sure that my body is getting the nutrients that it needs to lower my blood sugar. So wherever I am during the day, this fiber is the one that I drink at least 2 to 3 times a day. I get the fiber that I need here, and I know what I need to be eating along with that. So even if let's say I was without this fiber, I would have a salad. I would make sure that I eat in the correct order. I would prioritize protein and fiber. But with this, when I started doing this, within the first week, my migraine stopped. Within the first month, my blood pressure went from 145/93. That was with medication, all right? I was 145/93 with medication. When I started doing this, my blood pressure went from 182 to just, boy, that was really bad. 122/83. Getting my numbers mixed up. With just doing this. This was the change, and doing the intermittent fasting, because I wasn't hungry all the time. The other thing that we drink is Unimate. This is an yerba mate concentrate. This is what I'm drinking this morning, because what it does is it curbs my appetite. It crushes that because it has chlorogenic acid. Now, chlorogenic acid is it's available in coffee, it's in green teas. The Unimate is an yerba mate concentrate, and it comes from South America. The tree down there, it's in the holly family. It has more chlorogenic acid than anything else, which also works like metformin, all right? But it also has theobromine to provide energy and help with the brain fog. So for me, that was a no-brainer. I don't drink coffee all the time. I don't drink the energy drinks. This doesn't have added sugars in it. This is all in the PDR.net. Here in the United States, the PDR.net is the book that doctors use for prescribing medications and to look at what contraindications they might have. Right here, guess what's in there? This is the only thing that helps insulin resistance that's natural, that's in the PDR.net. The doctors here could prescribe this, but the company that we work with doesn't pay for pharmaceutical reps, because this is all food. And that's been the game changer for Dr. G and Mike. If you saw those pictures, we've been doing this for 2 years now. We have been on this. We coach people on this. And it's in over 60 countries around the world. And I actually have clients in Australia. I have clients in Guam. I've had clients in the UK as well. They've used this to reverse insulin resistance, diabetes, heart disease, all those things that we've talked about earlier. Okay, so those are the first three right there. How are we eating? How are we exercising? What are our extras? Who are you encouraging? Now, what I want to do is simply, that's what this whole channel is for, is to encourage you on this journey. So, who are you encouraging? If you learn something from here, who are you going to tell about it? There's the real question. Who are you going to tell about it? When we learn something, when we share it, that's when it becomes part of our lives. If it's something of value, it becomes a part of who we are. So who are you encouraging? Who are you building up? Birds of a feather flock together. So be careful who you flock with. Who do you surround yourself with? I hope this channel is going to be that, is to be a place where we can have that conversation to encourage people, whether that's on your faith journey, whether that's on your health journey. We are whole people, body, mind, and soul. You are a whole person, a whole creation, and that's how I look at you. All right, that's you. That's who you are. Now you can ignore that, but if you're here, I'm not going to let you do that. All right. And the fifth one is this: how are you elevating? Kind of goes along with that. How are you elevating? How are you seeking the divine? So, as we look at this, and I'm growing this channel, so this is really open to conversation. I want this to be just as much about you all as it is. I don't know it all. I am not the proverbial know-it-all. Not gonna be. Not gonna talk about it that way. Don't want to be that. I've got things to learn too. So, how are you elevating? How is it with your soul? Right? How is it with your soul? What are you doing to connect with God? Right? How are you doing it to connect to other people? How are you elevating? How are you educating yourself? What are you doing to grow? So that's one of the things I want to encourage people with. And like I said, I've been alive on this planet for 54 years. There's been people that have been here longer than me. But 54 years, I've had quite a lot that's happened in my life. And a lot of life still left to live. And I want to be able to pass that on. So, talk to the hand. The final one is this. The best question ever. What is the wise thing to do? What is the wise thing to do? What are you going to do? What choices are you going to make with everything you've learned? Whatever you're here, you've been on this live today. What are you going to do with it? What's the right thing? What's the wrong thing? Do you need help in making that call? What the wise thing to do is the piece that is so valuable to our lives. What is it that you're going to do? All right. Well, those of y'all are here, I'm Coach Ken, and welcoming y'all in, folks that are coming by. I know some folks have been here this whole time as we've been going. I've been on for almost 50 minutes now, coming close to that hour. Let me know where you all are coming in from. Sorry, I kind of got going there, but I would love to hear where y'all are coming in from. We had Boston in here, we had Ashland in here, we had Australia in here. I'm up in Anchorage, Alaska, and just having a great time. As I said, there is a webinar tonight that I want to invite you to as well. Let me pull up. Oh, you're over in India. Awesome. So if you would like information, I'm going to put this up. This is my contact info. Well, some of it anyway. If you want to scan that QR code, that goes to my link tree. I will be putting a link on my post to the webinar tonight. If you would like to attend, let me know. If you give me, I will put the link to that. Actually, if I can do it, I will stream it here and get you the link over for that to learn more about it. But it's going to be all about the issue that is always in debate, that it's always, I hear it all the time as a nutritionist, that calories in, calories out is the underlying piece. And if it was all just about weight loss and not chronic disease, okay, maybe. I would go with that. The problem with calories in, calories out, as I see as a nutritionist and somebody, or as a nutrition coach and as somebody that's lived this, calories in, calories not out is not a sustainable way to live. You're treating everything, you're treating a donut like a steak. You're treating a piece of cake like garbanzo beans, right? You're treating foods that are not foods as if they are, as if they provide the nutrients and the benefits that your gut needs. Because I will tell you that when you eat with carbohydrates, if you eat the piece of cake, which you can, what I teach, when you use the Feel Great system, when you learn to eat correctly, all right, you can have the cake, you have it at the end of the meal, you treat it like the dessert that it is. You really are at a point for overall health. It really is going to be a combination. Cardio is in many ways high intensity interval training. I always like HIIT. That's my preference. I like a little bit of each one of those. For heart health, for blood sugar control, I will do HIIT, but I will also do HIIT training with resistance band training. So HIIT can be a little bit of both of those, is typically how I look at it. So for overall health, again, it doesn't take much. My workouts typically consist in about 30 minutes. When I'm doing them consistently, I will do them for about 30 minutes, and it will be usually about 20 minutes on a HIIT, on an exercise bike, and then I will go to resistance band and do about 10 minutes there, and then I'll finish up with some stretching. And I find that works good for my body, but I believe there's a combination of both, really and truly. And for a lot of people, it's really different. So yeah, I typically do between 4 to 5 days a week is what has worked best for me. And like I said, when I do coaching, primarily mine is nutrition, but I do a little bit of metabolic exercises. You don't have, the thing metabolically speaking, you don't have to do a lot. You have to do something. That's the key, right? It's not doing nothing, but always doing something. And that's going to be the key to health overall. All right. I appreciate it. It's a great question, Babu. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being on here and the subscribing, for sure. And let's see. Anybody else? Comments, thoughts that you guys have? Oh, you're so very welcome. You're so very welcome. So thank y'all that have been on here today. And it's been an interesting one. We've been on a lot of great conversation, and I appreciate everybody being here. So like I said, so I will have on my post about the webinar tonight. For sure, if you're interested, I'll be putting a link up to that. That's not me hosting it. That's going to be speaking with a nutritionist that is researched and studied more in the field than I am. And I'm looking forward to learning as part of my continuing education. Would love to have you be a part if you're wanting to learn more. So, as I say each and every day, go get the day, make it golden, go be excellent to one another, and go be excellent to yourself. In other words, live the golden rule. If we would all go back to that, whatever your faith tradition is, in each one of our cultures, there's some aspect of the golden rule. Let's live it. Let's take it to heart. Let's make it a part of who we are. Thank you guys for being here, and we will see you back around on the flip side. Thank y'all so much for being on the live, and make sure that you like and subscribe.